Oh, I thought Boss was gonna take it over, but I got it. So what's up, everybody? Welcome to Blow the Whistle, episode 3, special edition. It's a lot of stuff going on today, so we had to hop on, give you our opinions, give you our views, let you know what's going on. Look at my boy Mars. He don't got the shirt on today. He's in his serious mode. So
This is a special edition. I didn't even introduce. I still got the damn whistle, but I blew it good that time. Pause. But I did not wear the referee shirt because this is, man, we got so much stuff popping. We don't have time for debaters, so we are going to come in there. We're just going to talk about what is going on right now, giving y'all the breakdown. So, bro, let's get into it.
Give me 1 second. I got an echo. I got YouTube open up somewhere.
It's live, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what's going on.
All right, got that figured out.
Let's go.
All right, so we got a lot of news, but before we get into it, I want to start with the serious thing. So Bronny James, LeBron James' son, suffered cardiac arrest today. I guess he was at practice. Details are still mum, but they had to take him to the ICU. He's out of ICU now. Don't really know much. Just trying to respect everybody's privacy, but just want to say prayers up. He seems like he's a good young man. It's kind of unfortunate. Just give him my prayers and my thoughts. I hope you have a speedy recovery. It's bigger than basketball right now, and I hope that he's okay. What you got, Mars?
Yeah, I mean, basketball is not even secondary in this. Basketball is an afterthought. This is a young man who obviously gifted on the basketball court, but at the end of the day, your life is more important. Obviously, he's already made a few mil from his NIL deals, and he's talented. He could be a coach. He could be whatever he wants. He doesn't have to actually go out there and risk his life on the basketball court. So I'm just praying that he can have a normal life, that this isn't something that's going to cause any type of permanent damage, and respecting the privacy, and get well, young king. And LeBron, we're praying for you, man. You've been holding this whole NBA on your back for the last 21 years. So we are praying for you. Done so much for the community. Definitely have morphed and earned my respect to my favorite player, and I think one of the most impactful players in my lifetime, on and off the court. So praying for your son, and I'm praying for 100% healing for him.
Well, it's don't want to be insensitive, but we got to delve into it. We got to talk about it. Man, I think the thing that scares me is this happened to Bronny James. If you think of any athlete that's more in tune with their body ever, like in the history of sports, who's more in tune with their body than LeBron James? I mean, other than maybe like Tom Brady, like who spends as much money as they do on their body? So his son probably has the best doctors. He's eating the best food. Probably got personal chefs. He's working out and everything, and it still happens. Like it's kind of scary, man. It makes you, I don't know, it makes you just appreciate life more because it doesn't matter how good you got it, you can be gone at any time, and that's scary.
Yeah, no, it's scary, but it's also very humbling and sobering. You're looking at a kid that on paper has everything, is the world's most famous basketball player as his father. He's really good at what he does. I've watched the kid. He's worked hard to get from under the name of being a junior, and to be a junior and have your dad, that's, even if everything worked out, his dad casts a shadow that he can never uh you know exceed realistically. So for him to even attempt shows such bravery, and it shows that he really has passion for the game. But anything can happen. That's the difference, and that's one thing we want to make note of: the difference between cardiac arrest and heart attack. Cardiac arrest can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. It's not something like a heart attack where the arteries have thickened and you're like, well, yeah, we know this guy ate double burgers every day. This is expected to come. A cardiac arrest is completely different. But we need to look at perhaps what we're putting these young guys through physically. And that's the factor that I wanted to touch on. Maybe that may be Bronny's purpose in basketball and youth sports. Maybe it wasn't to be the second coming of his dad, is to be a message that maybe we're pushing these kids too hard. They are playing basketball year long, something that Kyle and I as children played, and we would play a lot of games, but we weren't playing at the level that these kids. They're in camps, they're in organized, and they're working these young men out like they're men. And they're still kids. I think that's something we may need to take a look at.
I agree with that. And also to get a little deeper into it, and even though LeBron maybe led this charge, the off the court stuff, the being the brand. So now not only do these kids gotta on the court push themselves and try to be the best and play all these AAU games and all of that stuff. Now everybody's a brand. So now when they get off the court with the new deals and everything, the NIL deals, the endorsements, having to be here, making appearances here, doing all this other stuff, you kind of like stress yourself out. I mean, and then even just look at the athletes that I got to get up the earliest. I got to work the hardest. I got to stay the latest. I got to do this, do this, do this, do this to accomplish what? To win a game? Like, we really got to think about what's the sacrifice. Like, how many years are you cutting off of your life just stressing to be the best at something where you're obsessed with it, where you may be cutting off like quality years of your life because you're just stressing yourself out, you're stressing your body out. You see it so many times with athletes, after they retire or after they finish being active, they, like die, unfortunately. That's the sad part. But I don't know. I think we need to like start looking at things different and not just from athletes, just in general life. Like, do we need to keep pushing ourselves where we gotta be obsessive with being the best to win what at the end of the day? Like, we all gonna meet the same demise when we leave this earth. So what are we like actually doing?
I mean, that's a good point, and we hear the term all the time, and it's been galvanized since its passing. Mamba mentality, that obsessive, compulsive. This is all I will destroy everything to get my cold jobs not finished, and we put that on the pedestal, and we preach that to a point where it becomes a positive thing. But we forget Kobe left us at 41 years, and maybe you know would he have been the same Kobe if he didn't push himself? Of course not. But I'm sure in retrospect, if he had an opportunity, he would love to have more time with his family and his loved ones versus pushing himself from one obsession to the next. Storytelling was his next obsession, and becoming, he had won an Oscar that quickly. So while it is very commendable when it comes to performing a specific task, at the end of the day, we really need to focus on quality of life and balance, and making sure that we realize that any given second, I used to tell this not to make this show dark, but this is a somber particular subject. My late brother used to work so much overtime because he was obsessed with money. And I used to tell him, at the end of the day, I'm obsessed with time. I can always make more money, but time is a commodity that is the most precious, because we don't, not only can we not make more, we don't know how much we have. So imagine going to the ATM and not knowing, we all know that bi-weekly or weekly we have a check going into account. Time is an ATM that one day you're going to just go punch in and it's going to say zero and that's it. So I think as a culture, we really need to start focusing more on quality of life and spending these moments in time with our loved ones and family. So once again, prayers to Bronny, prayers to his brother, his sister, his mom, his dad, his family, his friends, his fans, the university. And I hope this is just a speed bump on a great future for the young man.
I agree. I mean, he got a long way to go. What is he, 18?
18, he's a baby.
He got a long. It's bigger than basketball. Got
It's
a long
bigger than basketball. You don't ever need to touch a basketball. Yeah, you can be a media personality. You can join us on Blow the Whistle Sports.
Yeah, he can gladly take over. I'll be the sidekick. He can have his name on the show. All right, so let's see what we got. So soccer news. This is gonna be fun because
you gonna try to say that name, or am I trying to say that name?
I'm gonna mess with it. Mbappe.
Yeah, man, I wish Short Man was here. He would have been like, yeah, Mbappe. That's my Short Man impression. You know, him with that Mbappe.
And then he would have said a whole bunch of stuff and bull jobbed his way through. Yeah, I think it's good. You know, the internet would have went out.
He would have been like, "That's not even the best deal that you can really get. I know a guy that played in the Snoop Youth Football League made more than that." Shout out, like God damn it! I wish I would have took that YMCA soccer class when I had the opportunity. When I was
$776 million to sign with the Saudi Arabia League. Saudi
Arabia Premier League, and
wow,
it's technically in total a $1.1 billion deal because $332 million of that is a fee that they had to pay. And Saudi Arabia, for those who don't know, their soccer leagues were taken over by the government, which means they essentially have infinite money to make it the Premier League. So when you have a country as rich as Saudi Arabia running the premier sport, you can offer these outrageous deals. I mean, the soccer players get paid. For those on that, we're going to talk about some NFL contracts that really seem like broke boys to some of these soccer players. Obviously, not the biggest soccer fan, but of course, I did some research. His current contract, I believe, is $128 million annually. That's his current contract, which is higher than any. We're going to be talking about Jaylen and some NFL players. 128 million annually. I've never seen anything, and I couldn't pick this guy in a lineup if he was right in front of me. And this French man, I believe, is 24, 25 years old, set the biggest sports contract ever. I tell you, if I have a son, he's not even going to be allowed to look at basketball, football, baseball, anything. He doesn't even need to pick up a book. He's just going to, hopefully he'll get these size 14s, inherit them from me, and he's going to play soccer. That's a crazy contract.
Well, I watch a little soccer, so I'm familiar with him. He's probably the best player that's in the world right now. But it's the biggest contract, but we need to keep our eye on Messi because they offered him $1 billion, but he turned it down to go to Miami. And they're going to give him some of the revenue rights from Apple TV because Apple brought the soccer rights. So he gets some of that revenue. Adidas is also giving him revenue for all the soccer apparel that's sold. So he may end up like winning out in the long run, and he gets a steep discount on buying an MLS team once he retires. Plus,
I think I got a GoFundMe for an MLS team right now. I'm like $7 shy, but no. I
can't. Did you see how much those tickets were for the Miami game?
They were pretty. They were pretty expensive.
Got to get their money back.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get global, and I say this all the time. America, we tend to isolate, and we just think what's going on here is the creme of the creme, and it's nothing anti-patriotic at all. But we need to start looking at globally. I mean, this is the number one global sport. If you know anyone from any other country, if you met them, if you've seen the World Cup, you understand how passionate people are at the world. So I always say, if somebody's willing to cut you a check, they're usually making at least 10 times. It's a rule of 10. Yep. So if they're going to make if they're going to pay $1 billion, they're going to make 10 billion off of it. Guaranteed. These guys are not bad businessmen at all. So I'm all for people getting what they're worth.
Man, I think this is just like the stepping stone because you see what they're playing they're paying the golfers, right?
Oh yeah,
Like Tiger Woods already turned down $1 billion to go over there for golf. And then the PGA still had to merge with the Saudi what is it, Live. They
yeah.
still had to merge because the money was so deep in Saudi Arabia that the PGA was like, we can't keep going to court. Like they just Saudi Arabia was like, we'll wait them out. We'll just keep going to court until the PGA can't do it anymore. So they had to merge. So all those players that didn't go, like Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas and all that, because they were with the U.S. pride and everything, they lost out. Them other guys are getting 300, 400 million. Like I said, Tiger Woods turned down $1 billion. If they doing this, you don't think basketball is next?
I mean, absolutely, it's nets. It's a war of attrition at the end of the day, and nobody has pockets like Saudi Arabia, and they're very big on national pride and things that can motivate the people. I hear it's a beautiful country. Vince McMahon been on that Saudi Arabia money, and we get a lot of people that are, as you mentioned, oh man, it's blood money, and once again, we're not making it political, but we live in America. We can't really be talking about blood money when we live in America. We have to be completely realistic and realize our hands aren't necessarily clean. I'm for the athlete getting these checks because at the end of the day, most of these players end up with very short careers. They don't end up the success stories, and they end up putting their bodies at risk, hurting themselves long term, having issues with their family or their spouses. And if there's money out here, 776 million, let me tell you, I will be in Saudi Arabia tonight. I don't know if there's literally enough time, but they give me a fraction. If you guys need a commentator, I don't know Saudi Arabian's language, but I hear they have some great AI technology. Blow the Whistle Sports is for sale. Let us know. We'll be
Yeah,
there.
we'll change the background and all this shit.
Everything. I can grow a really good beard. So just let me know. I'll be out there. Cheers to Mbappe.
Well, knowing us, you know our show is unorganized, so we didn't even answer the question. So we're gonna figure this out. Do you think this contract is good, or do you think this is a bad contract?
I mean, I think it's good for both parties. Nobody's going to pay that type of money to take a loss. That's not how business works. So they needed to make a deal that's so enticing that he can't say no. And that's one of the things when you don't have a salary cap, you let the market dictate. So for those who are, proud red-blooded capitalists and let the market dictates that this guy's worth $776 million. Give him his ducats, pay him his bread. I think it's a good thing. I'm for these out now. For us that love other sports leagues, you might end up seeing Caljones on the Pistons soon. You might Mars on the Lakers soon because LeBron, especially now, if Bronny, and I don't want to speculate on the man's future, but if basketball is out of the picture for Bronny, what's LeBron got left in the NBA?
That's true.
He's not gonna. Bryce is like 11, so he's not gonna be able to probably realistically hold on for Bryce. Bronny was his opportunity. If that's all the table, we love you in LA, but man, get your bread. Wrap it up this season in Los Angeles, and go ahead and be the star of the Saudi Arabian Lakers or whatever they're called, the Sandstorms, and,
Yeah.
and get your money. Everybody should go out there. They have a strike going in Hollywood. Let's go make some Saudi Arabian movies. Saudi Wood, baby. The Saudi Arabian Avengers. Everybody, let's go to Saudi Arabia. I think it's great. Get your money.
Bars, we gotta disagree. I think this contract is bad, and not because I don't think they'll make the money back, or that is bad for him because I guess they signed him to that contract because they're going to be hosting the World Cup soon. I think it's just bad because if you start setting this standard, if somebody can make $776 million off for 1 year, does it kind of take the competitive edge away from a person to like kind of to still be the best, to still excel or whatever? Like you got 5 generations worth of money that you're making in 1 year. Like, what's the incentive to keep pushing? I don't know. Like, I think it's just going to get kind of scary when it's that much money. I don't think people are going to play as hard as they can play because I'm pretty sure it's incentive based. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like you got to play a certain amount of games. I guess I'll need to see how it's set up, but if it's incentive based, that's definitely kind of scary to me because are you going to go all out or are you going to stay back some because you don't want to miss out on getting your full contract? But I kind of don't like the direction that it's going in. I'm all about capitalism, but I don't know, for some reason in sports I'm not about it. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I think because we're not getting drafted. And in most capitalism, we have an opportunity. We can all study and create something or be a businessman, but it's nothing at 40 years old that any of us can do to become a pro soccer player. So I think the fact that that opportunity does not even present or even exist in the universe for us makes us, my father, shout out to King Hundo, very anti-pro sports. He likes the college and his quote was, most of these guys gonna be working with me at the end of the day. That's why I root for. I don't care about no millionaires. That was my father's view on pro sports. I look at it because Cal tell you he's pro capitalist. I'm the hippie of the group, and so if it was up to me, we all be living on a commune outside, having magic mushrooms and dancing to EDM music. Unfortunately, that's not the real world for us. So if you have to look at what the companies are making, the people cut it. Chris Rock had a bit where he said Shaq is rich. The man that's cutting the check to Shaq is wealthy. So I'm looking at it. If that's what he's worth, that's what he's worth. And I think because it's 1 year, that's all the motivation. He wants another $776 million contract next year, and another one after that, and another one after that. A lot of these guys that get these contracts, and I think the closest comparable would be to in America would be baseball, where they get these huge contracts, but they're over 10 years. I think that's even more reason to get lax because you're getting this guaranteed for the next 10 years. This is a 1 year deal. I think it's we're not going to see it here in America because we don't like sharing the profit that much. But it's good for a rich country that wants to make their premier league the premier league in the world, spend money to make money.
Well, I guess it's where I'm torn at because I agree with like everything you said. I can't disagree with anything because I'm about getting your money. It's when you got $776 million. What can you tell me the next year? Like you can't tell me nothing. You can't. You see how Kyrie Irving act now with like 40. Can you imagine Kyrie Irving with $776 million? You wouldn't be able to tell him nothing during the season. The next season, anything. So I'm for it. I just hope it doesn't affect the game where the I want the players to have power, but where it be so much power that you owners couldn't get anything done because I got $776 million already. Like, what are you gonna tell me?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that also goes to the individual player that's getting paid that much money. I feel have shown that they have the mentality and the passion for the sport. The greats are always the one. The real greats are always the one that are almost obsessed with it. I mean, LeBron James is a billionaire, and at 21 years in, with torn feet and things of that nature, he still has the passion to go out there and be a top 5 player, in my opinion. So I think it depends on the individual. You and I, yes, you cut me for a $776 million check. As soon as I get the confirmation from my banker that it's cleared, I'm gonna be out there like, he got me. I retired. You don't like it? I bought an Allen, but that's us. That's probably why we're we're not in that position because we don't have the obsession to let the money not motivate us to still get up. Because, like you said, you got $776 million. It's hard to wake up at 6 a.m. and work out.
But all right, but look at this. Because like you said, LeBron's a billionaire. I think LeBron made like $518 million in the NBA, like his whole career earnings. This dude making this in 1 year. So it took LeBron all that time to get to where he's at, which I think to me personally hence the reason why he'll want to continue it, because we seen with Kanye, that billionaire number just gets thrown around until you do something wrong, and then people start pulling endorsements and all this. You're like, oh, he wasn't worth $1 billion. He's only worth 300 million or something like that. You giving somebody 700, like I just feel like that. The billion is the same. It just feels different when somebody gets 776 million. We ain't even talking about endorsements yet. Like I feel like that's a real billionaire.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's the difference between net worth billionaires and liquid billionaires. There's very few liquid billionaires that can literally Scrooge McDuck their money and be like, "Yo, I got $1 billion in cash." Most people, it's $1 billion in valuations of my assets with my business and with this. I own the record rights and things of that nature. That's just how money works, and we saw that, as you mentioned, with Kanye. It's like they just turned the funnel off, and I'm like, how did he lose? He was $10 billion Monday, and how did you lose $8.7 billion in 2 days? But it's all on valuations. Like Prince said, money don't matter because it's not real in most cases. But when you're getting a check for 776 million, that's liquid. I don't know what the taxes are like in Saudi Arabia, but I'm sure they could probably pay a deal to be like, no taxes for you.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm about to say. I'm pretty sure he around that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got all of that. So more power to him. I'm seeing if they want a 5'9", 200 plus pound 42-year-old striker. Let me get my Stella Artis. I got a size 14. I'm sure I could kick a soccer ball. These feet were built for something.
So enough about it. Enough about soccer, because we don't know nothing about it. We just want to talk about them.
Oh, they rich.
So in NBA news, our favorite sport, Jaylen Brown. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. Jaylen Brown signed a $304 million contract. 5 years. It's the richest contract in NBA history. I say that again, just in case nobody didn't hear me. If my internet went out, Jaylen Brown has just signed a 5-year, $304 million contract, richest contract in NBA history. I can't wait to hear what Mars got to say about this.
They taking the Celtics' wealth. I can't believe this happened in my own town. Jesus Christ. I remember a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, when Mike Conley signed the richest contract. And that's just the way the NBA is. It's never the player that truly deserves to be the highest paid. That's just been built on the shoulders of those above him. If I was LeBron James, I'm not touching the basketball again until somebody transfers $305 million into my account immediately. Once again, I'm never upset at a player getting this money. But Jaylen Brown, I remember when he was in California and everybody was thinking that he was gonna be, a number one draft pick. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, he can barely dribble. And now 10 years later, he can barely dribble. I have not. I just he's how can I say this? He's a good player with flashes of greatness. But where do we stop? This guy hasn't won anything. This guy hasn't done anything but a few individual accolades. And I feel like we're getting people rewarded for being mediocre. I just didn't grow like that. Now, once again, if somebody's willing to give it to you, I'm gonna sign it. But what is Luka's next contract gonna be? What is I mean, we're setting where these guys are getting I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but that's about $60 million a year, right? That's crazy. And he has the handling of a high school player, like a semi. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm sure he signed that thing in blood, but what are the Celtics gonna do? You know, nobody wants to go there. They treat their players like trash. I'm sure they'll figure a way to get out of it if things don't work out of it. You know, look at Isaiah Thomas. Nobody wants to go there. So I mean, you got to lock in your talent. They've gotten fairly deep in the Eastern Conference playoffs and even had a shot at the championship not too long ago. But I mean, I just can't see Jaylen Brown being worth that type of money. The richest contract in NBA history for a guy who dribbles off his foot. It's rough.
I'm befuddled. I'm lost. I'm confused. Boston's not my team, but I'm hurt. What are they doing? So is Boston just going to keep running the same team out every year? Like the same team that gets to the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe make the finals every once in a while. They always not good enough to beat who's ever in there. Jaylen Brown is inconsistent with his offensive game. You don't know what he's going to bring night in and night out. You mean to tell me you couldn't take Jaylen Brown and flip him for anybody to put with Tatum? You couldn't. I don't know. I don't think the Sixers would do it, but try to maybe put Embiid with Tatum. You can put anybody with Tatum. You can just have Tatum and add a couple more players and have a deeper team and add them with Tatum. I just think Tatum and Brown, it don't mix. I feel like I wouldn't say they play the same position, but it feels like two people that kind of do the same thing. And I don't know why. It's like Kawhi and Paul George. I don't know why they're trying to make this work. I don't know why they just won't get a big man. I'm trying to really think about who you compare with Tatum. You can maybe even go like Lillard. Like, you mean to tell me you couldn't float out Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard and put him with Tatum? I just don't get this. And then you're going to lock him up for 5 years. But Boston reminds me of like those teams that are always going to be too good to get a good draft pick. But too bad. They're not. They're never going to be bad enough to get a good draft pick, but they're going to be too good. They're always going to be like stuck right in the middle. But every year they're going to get far enough where the next year you're going to think, okay, that's our year. We add this, and this. Boston is so far from winning a championship. I don't know why you even do this deal.
I mean, maybe they saw something with the addition of Porzingis that they said, okay, we need to lock this new core there. But I don't see them coming out of the East. With the current constructed team, I could still, even if the Dillard deal does not go through, I could still see Miami getting past them. That's presently constructed. Milwaukee is shaky as usual. Boston is shaky when they need them to be. And yes, I feel they got somewhat better offensively, but losing Marcus Smart, I feel is going to be way bigger than they actually anticipate. So I'm like you, Al. I'm flipping Jaylen Brown and some draft capital because, like you said, their draft picks are trash anyway. 27th pick, whatever. You can find a guy at that point in the second round that's probably going to be just as good and find you like a little Austin Reeves type character undrafted. So I'm flipping someone that I feel if you have Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis and some role players, you're definitely winning the East. Easy, light work, and you're going to be right up there with the Lakers and Denver, one of the two teams I feel have a legitimate chance of coming out of the West. So, and I feel with the offers that Miami is talking, that would have been a better deal for Portland as well.
Yep.
And I feel with that young team, Jaylen Brown could be what he so desperately needs, the 1A
Yes.
versus the 1B. And if you're going to pay a guy I'm not paying a guy 3 to 4 million. That's not my 1A. That's just me. I'm sorry, Pippen. You don't get what Jordan get. That's just the structure of things. There can only be one big dog. There can be only one tribal chief. And I just can't do it. I I don't know. Maybe they need to call Utah and see if they could get Danny Ainge back because I don't remember Boston making such loose moves under his leadership. Brad Stevens, holla at me. I can get you. I can dribble better than Jaylen Brown right now. I can't do anything else, but I can dribble better than him right now. I'll take a solid $4 million. I'm very inexpensive, so I'll.
Man, if, if I'm gonna pay you $60 million, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let you look around and see who else gonna pay you $60 million. I'm not just gonna give you $60 million just because it's the max. I'm like, all right, man, shop around. At least let him bring a contract back to you, showing like, hey, the Rockets are willing to give me $304 million or something before I make that decision. But just to make it, to not lose Jaylen Brown, not LeBron, not Anthony Davis, not Joker,
A man
Jaylen
that they
Brown.
probably should have traded for Kevin Durant when they had an opportunity. Uh, a man that had really, if you had followed him on Twitter, showed no loyalty and was, consistently talking about going, other opportunities. So maybe that was their good faith offer. But I believe in the what's on front of the jersey more than what's on the back of the jersey.
Exactly.
I'm a Lakers fan. So what's good for what's in front of the jersey is all that I care. I was one of the few people that when Kobe tore his Achilles, I was saying what a great time to let him go.
Yep.
His contract had ended. He had injured, and we probably would have, if we would have rebuilt then versus signing him for another $50 million where he missed multiple games. I think over the last 2 or 3 years of his career, he maybe played 60 games over like 3 years. It was Achilles and a shoulder, then a fractured kneecap. He just consistently was breaking down. And I'm like, we could have even done a sign or trade. And I love Kobe. He's my all-time favorite player, right up there with LeBron and Jordan. They're like the holy trinity for me. And I would have cut him in a heartbeat because I believe on what's in front of the jersey more than what's on the back jersey. But I don't know. Basketball is one of these things where it's such a superstar driven league that they kind of have to do these loyalty deals because they're not going to attract those free agents that have the ability that you don't really lock people. Back in the day, people would be locked up to 7 year deals. That's your entire prime. So they had a little bit more bargaining. Now they have 2 years, 3 years, 1-and-1s. They have all these combination of deals that give the power to the players, but it makes it very difficult to win a franchise, keep a winning franchise. But $304 million for a 1B is crazy. Period.
And my only thing with that Kobe argument, and I guess it's my argument with Jaylen Brown, because I agree with you back then when you were saying that about Kobe.
Yeah.
At least Kobe won championships. Like you would have to say that the Lakers paid him just to pay him back for everything that he brought to them.
It was a thank you for his loyalty because in his prime, he had an opportunity to leave. There was a deal on the table for him in the Clippers. There was a deal on the table for him with Chicago. And it was a payback for loyalty. They said, let's get the end of his career. We're not going to win anything anyway. So let's go ahead and pay him to finish his career here, and we'll have the Kobe farewell tour. And it worked out splendidly for the Lakers. They weren't winning anything, but I can guarantee you Kobe wasn't that happy when they were having those 11 and 60-something game seasons. I know he wasn't happy. He was sitting there on the sideline gritting everyone. He probably would have liked to finish his last couple of years with a competitor.
I know who else won't happy either.
Yeah, this guy right here. I left many a chat room during those years when we were getting number 2 picks after number 2 picks after number 2 picks. Rough time in Laker Nation.
So I guess we agree on that one. I guess my last question would be: do you think this affects anything with Tatum, being that Brown gets paid more now, or
I mean, it's not like football where he can hold out, but obviously, come next payday, he's going to be expecting a deal that's whatever's the tier higher than him. That's what he's going to be expecting, a max contract, whatever the max contract may be. So yeah, I don't think it's going to affect anything except maybe on the road. Tatum's going to be responsible for. Brown's going to be responsible for a few more dinners. I ain't paying nothing around. I'm like, you got it right. Yeah.
I'm gonna pose one more question to you because we didn't think about this. Can you, instead of flipping Brown, can you flip Tatum?
I mean, that deal almost says that you are. I mean, it sounds like you're making him your number one. I know he had a little bit more consistency in the playoffs than Tatum. I've always felt they didn't mesh well together. Tatum has flashes where he looks like he's the best player in the NBA, and then he has flashes where he just looks like a decent player, and sometimes not even decent. But he has great ability. But to me, I look for those players that are going to kill every night. Those contracts are reserved for those players that are going to kill every night. And I've been watching the NBA now for over 30 years, and I may have seen 6 of those players in my entire time watching. It's not too many players that I can just really think of saying, you know what, give me the damn ball, get out of my way, and I'm going to bring us home to victory. Maybe 6, and that might be generous. And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, neither one of those guys are on my list. And that's after I've seen Jaylen drop 50 in the playoffs to win them. But then the next game, he'll have like 17, shoot 2 for 13. You can't do that. Jordan was a volume shooter. I remember games where he would go 7 for 27, but he also had like 22 free throws because he was going to get to the free throw line. So, yeah, Jaylen Brown is not that guy. Neither is Jason Tatum. And I'm not saying that just because I really hate the Celtics. I'm talking purely from a bipartisan stance.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out an example. I don't know, but I feel like if you gave Brown like a Anthony Davis and you kept Boston together like they are, I don't know. I think that's a good team.
I mean, so you're saying swap Jason Tatum for Anthony Davis?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take that deal just for availability purposes. If I'm the Lakers, can I also ship off LeBron and just start? Because if I'm going to get rid of Davis, then I'm going to need to get rid of LeBron. So maybe we get a older. I don't know. I would take that deal as is and figure it out because Anthony Davis, when right, when healthy, when motivated, once again, top 5 talent. But that's a lot of wins that you have to have in place for him to give you that peak Davis. And once again, it's extension time for him this summer. And Pelinka in Lakers Nation is going to have to make a decision. Do we give a guy who availability has been a question, but to his defense, there's plenty of players that don't get any flack for missing the amount of time that he does. It just seems like because Anthony Davis's injuries he's never really had anything serious. It's never like torn ACL, torn Achilles. It's always like bruised pinky toe, 6 weeks. So it makes him seem soft. And every time he hits the ground, he's, writhing in agony. But I think that's what gives the appearance that he's really missing all these games. But he's played more games than Kawhi Leonard over the last 5 years. He's played more games than Paul George. He's played more games than a ton of other players that you would consider elite. Kevin Durant, and nobody says, and Kyrie Irving because Kyrie, elected to miss half a season. So I'm fine with Anthony Davis as long as you don't even have to play during the regular season. If you give us prime Davis, the playoffs, that's all we need. The Lakers showed this year that how you start has nothing to do with how you finish if you have the right team.
That's true. Right, so I guess that's enough about Jaylen Brown. Can't believe we talked that long about Jaylen Brown.
He's rich, bitch.
And last but not least, NFL still more big contracts. Justin Herbert signed a big contract for the Chargers. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me because We don't do research. It
I got you. I came prepared. As a referee, couldn't leave you handy. So there's some other numbers that I have about Herbert since we're going to be talking about Herbert. Uh, let's talk about 25 and 24. That's his record.
hmm.
Let's talk about 14,089 yards. That's more than Andrew Luck for the most passing yards through a quarterback for the first NFL season. But one thing we don't talk about is that the NFL doesn't run anymore. All of these quarterbacks are going to have numbers that blow them away. But once again, for me, uh, the man ain't won nothing. I can't. I 20. That's one game over 500, and you're getting the most money annually. It was 255 million is the contract. Um, I'm sorry, 262.5 million. 5 years, $262.5 million. He's a 25-year-old quarterback who's very good. He's very good, but Jesus Christ, that's the highest paid quarterback of all time at this point for 24 and 25.
That's probably going to last about a week because Joe Burrow is up, which that's your boy. So he's probably going to.
He's won more than Herbert.
and he's been to a Super Bowl, and you, at least with Joe, you see it. You like that's the guy. Him, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. There's certain quarterbacks you can look at and say that's gonna be the guy. Like it's gonna be they're the new Breeze, Brady, Manning, and all Rodgers. You can tell in like Herbert and them, they're like Romo. They're like that second tier Eli Manning, that tier below that again are gonna show enough potential to make a team good and make them think they're a couple of pieces away when the team is not that good. And then after 4 years, they're gonna have to re-sign to something again. My team is about to do it now with Dak Prescott, and we're gonna be 12-4. They're gonna be good enough to get to the first, second round. Can't get a good draft pick, and but we're gonna see potential. Oh, next year's the year. 4 years later, do the same thing. Ryan Tannehill. I can name so many quarterbacks that get these contracts like this because GMs are scared to actually do their job, which is make the team better, which is, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I'm not paying you this. Even though the market says that you should get paid this, we're not paying you this. Go get it from somewhere else. I'll build it again. A lot of GMs just get off with, well, I'll pay Herbert. So if it don't work out, then everybody will say, well, it made sense that he paid him. I mean, the potential was there. I mean, the guy was good. Nobody wants to take responsibility for like making a mistake. So everybody just plays it safe. And that's why I don't know. I respect teams like the Rams. I love teams that just go all in. Like, fuck it. If it worked, it worked. If it don't, it don't. At least we go all in. And that's why I kind of hate Jerry Jones at times because we just play it safe. Dude, your team is loaded. We got all these players. I know they said, well, I guess Diggs is up there. We'll talk about him next. Just load the team up. Go all out. If it don't work, it don't work. At least you went after it. And then with the Diggs thing, that got me pissed off because 20 million, he only had like maybe 2 great seasons. We still got to pay Michael Parsons, Zach Martin. He's looking for money now. And with the Cowboys, for some reason, every time after they get paid, they just fall off. Like it happened with Zeke, the Marcus Lawrence, Prescott got injured. They just fall off. So I don't know, man. I'm over the Cowboys.
Well, I mean, with football in general, it's one of those sports where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because they'll tell you every sports broadcaster, it's the going rate for a starting quarterback this day. It's the going rate. Screw that. I'm with you. I'm not paying a bunch of money to be mediocre. I'm not paying. I'd rather save my money. What are you going to do? You're not going to come to the game if you're in the area. You're not going to buy these tickets. So if I'm not going all out for my customer, for my fan base to win, what am I doing? Herbert is not bringing you that money for this going rate of a quarterback. Is not so you don't give them the money and you're set back 2 years before you find the next guy that can do that. Okay, I'd rather do that. Who has the space for you? Who has the cap for you? I'm
Yeah.
not paying you that type of money. And then with the Cowboys, God bless you, man. For being a Cowboys fan, I'm not used to that, even though I'm a Bengals fan. Um, but to go from at least the Bengals have always kind of sucked, and even when we got to the Super Bowl, we didn't win it. Like to go from such dominance when you guys had monsters in every position. That's when the NFL was really good, when every team had a quarterback, running back, wide receiver combo. They had those three skill positions that were just, you could name them. You knew you had your Emmett, you knew you had your Troy, you knew you had your Michael Irvin. And now, because everybody just throws and everybody, tries to do the same thing instead of doing what's good for them, uh, you mentioned your Cowboys lineup. You have one of the best lines I ever seen. To settle at a Dak Prescott is weird to me. Like, no disrespect to Dak Prescott, but to me, and I've been in many a chat with you where you were like, he's our guy. I think that's had enough time to marinate. And let's
Yeah.
ask this diehard Cowboys fans in front of the blow the whistle audience: is he still your guy? Is Dak still the guy to take you to the promised land? Is he your Moses?
Um. Ooh. All right. So Dak is my guy, just for not the price he'd be asking for. Like, if he can lower the price, then I say do it because you can make. I feel like this. If he says lower the price, then I say do it because you can make around him better. But if he's asking to take like 20% of your salary cap, dude, you're not Aaron Rodgers. You're not a quarterback that we can put anything beside you and the team is going to win. We saw that when before Amari Cooper came and they tried to let Dak Prescott, just run the team. And it was like, oh no, we got to get a number one receiver in here because with Dez Bryant being gone, this ain't working. I don't think he's that guy to carry a team. I think he's that guy if you put a team around him. But that's my problem again. A lot of these GMs are handing out money, big money to these quarterbacks, and they don't know how to build a team around them. So you got Justin Herbert getting this big contract and all these other guys. All right, cool. I want to see you put a team around them now with limited resources. And a lot of GMs don't know how to do that. They're listening to like Mel Kiper and all these people, draft gurus or whatever. I don't know, I just think GMs are like overrated in the NFL. It's like it amazes me how many times they miss in the NFL, but the NBA, every time it says a generational talent, they hit. I don't know one person that's been a generational talent in the NBA that they didn't hit when the GM picked them. And I don't know how the scout I don't know how it's like that wide where the NFL always miss a lot and the NBA always kind of get it right.
Well, I also think with the NFL, there, especially at the quarterback position, there's so many things that go into play. Are they going to be with the right system? Are they going to have the right coach? Are they going to build around this guy? Are they going to have the pieces in place? Are they going to be in a city where they can flourish? They have the culture. With basketball, a dominant talent will dominate everywhere. His team may not win, but a dominant talent just can't be stopped. You could have put Prime Shaq on any team in the NBA, and he would have averaged the same numbers because he was just that dominant. Football is such a team sport and so many elements that go into play. I feel it's difficult for you to bank on one player to necessarily take you over the mountaintop unless you are a Patrick Mahomes, you are a Lamar Jackson, players that we've seen just put teams on their back and really take them to the promised land. But there's three or four of those guys. Everywhere else, these mid-tier quarterbacks, and that's what I call them. They're not the elite, but they're mid-tier. They're good, but they're not great. And I put Dak Prescott in that category. But you're looking at the record over the last 3 years, they were 36-30. So I mean, if one game over 500 gets you $262 million. How can you not say that 6 games over 500 get you $262 million? They put them in a place where it's the going rate for a quarterback. So I think he's going to want that money, and I don't think he's going to take that discount.
Well, I guess the problem is that quarterback union is so strong that nobody's never. I think the only person to take a discount was Patty Mahomes. But other than that, nobody's ever going to take a discount because they're like, nope, I'm going to get paid this because I'm going to up it for the next quarterback because my contract's going to be up in 3 or 4 years. You see the contracts they're signing now. Quarterbacks are getting smart. They're signing 4-year deals and re-upping. Like once Kirk Cousins started that, everybody was like, oh, well, that's kind of smart. I'll just sign a 3-year deal and just keep hitting the market every time the market adjusts instead of being stuck in this 7-8 year contract, getting paid $15 million while somebody's getting paid 30 or whatever.
But it's a calculated risk because we're talking a sport where injuries are so prevalent. A lot of people want to lock in that long-term security. Even though the contracts aren't guaranteed, they're going to usually get a bigger guaranteed money. At the end of the day, until the contracts are fully guaranteed, I'm really just looking at the guaranteed money that these players get. So it's a risk because you sign a 3-year deal and you don't get all your guaranteed your money up front. Then you don't have an opportunity to re-up with the longer security that it may have with a longer term contract. But at the end of the day, I still think the quarterback unions, it just feels like it's quarterback and everyone else.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on the last episodes, how the running back has essentially been phased out of the game. I would like to see the quarterbacks maybe take a little bit less. It's rough when you're making $50 million a year, and then you got a guy that's supposed to be your tackle, and he's making a percentage of that. And I've always heard, the quarterbacks treat their offensive linemen great, and offensive linemen are paid well, but they're not paid nearly as high as these quarterbacks. And one might argue a guy that can protect the quarterback in some cases any of these guys at that level, if they have enough time, usually can do some damage. They're that good. So I don't know. I would like the quarterbacks to maybe take a little bit less and look at the rest of their teammates and their long-term financial compensation. I just want a little bit more fairness. The NFL makes so much money, and I feel like they definitely do their players the worst out of any sports league in America, except for maybe the WNBA.
And that's another subject. Where we put in salary caps, that's another thing. What I mean with these GMs can't do their job. So they say, oh, well, let's cap every team so we can make it like even. No, let's let the salary cap go and let's see who's going to spend whatever money they want to spend to put a team together. Let's see who can put a team together then, instead of saying, all right, well, you get 30. It's the only place where this happens where they say you get 30 million, you get 30 million. All right, now, like, make it work.
I mean, the NBA has a salary cap as well. I've always been anti, especially when there's no profit cap for these franchises. The franchise can make billions of dollars in profit, but you're capping these players that bring in the $1 billion of profit. If the market says LeBron James is worth $100 million to this franchise for one season, and he can get $100 million and the team is willing to play, he should be allowed to. I'm very anti salary cap. And then at the end of the day, a lot of people say, well, what about the smaller market teams? Well, maybe you shouldn't have a team in Milwaukee.
Thank you.
Maybe you should let the big boys with the big money have the teams. I'm sure there's about 6 franchises in every sport that we could probably delete tomorrow and nobody would care the more. I would rather have if you had a smaller league, you would have more talent because these talented players wouldn't be divided and now instead of every team having 1 or 2 guys, maybe you could have 3, 4 superstars on a team and let them pay what the owners are willing to pay. And if that means we only got a team in LA, New York, and Saudi Arabia, so be it.
No, I agree with you. I don't know what to say about these contracts, man. I flabbergasted. Can't believe I didn't think Diggs was gonna get the money. I knew he had been complaining. For him to actually get it, I hope he lives up to it because I'm a Cowboys fan. I just don't see what he's done to warrant 19 to 20 million dollars. But I guess we'll see.
He definitely got 20 million reasons not to complain now because his agent definitely deserves a pat on the back for he's a jolly good fellow because there's been some fleecing going on in the NFL. NFL stands for not fleecing, something like that.
But
I'm like,
no, man, but I really appreciate you pulling this off, man. I know we had to pull it together last minute. A lot of big stories happened. We had to come up here. Didn't want to wait too late. Wanted to get our opinions out. Hopefully, Short Man is back next time. We'll get back to the regular scheduled program. But I really appreciate you coming on today, man.
anytime, man. You know what it is. BT Dub for life. Need you guys to make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do the damn thing. This is our special views. We appreciate y'all for watching. For your boy Mars.
Peace.
Deuces.